what we've been through, but how we've grown through it. Um, can anyone else hear me right now? Just want to make sure audio's working. Okay. All right. So, haha. All right. So here, yeah, like I said, and grow through it. We talk about adversities and how we've grown through them, from them, how, why, what, where, when, who. Just kidding. We have two different guests every single week. If you are interested in being a guest, hit me with that favorite and add me on Instagram or Snapchat. Send me a message. Let me know. We can or emoji J right here in the comments. He'll let you know, and we can get you on the show for the next one. Like I said, is where we talk about different adversities, how we face them, and not just face them and went through them, but how we actually overcame them, became better people because of them. I'm sure we've all been through certain things in our life, certain crap has happened, but we embraced what it was and took that, ran with it, grew through it, and became who we are today. So, with that being said, a little bit about myself. My name is CureAge again, or Cure. Go by either one. Everybody, welcome and thank you for being here tonight. This is a featured show, so please be appropriate. Please, no, no profanity, any of that. Um, Again, a little bit about myself. I grew up in sports. I was always in sports. One of the main sports I did do was martial arts since I could walk. I was kind of born into it. And so at the age of walking, basically, I started training karate and then I went on to judo. And then as I became a teenager, the UFC got really, really big. So that was my big dream goal career was to be in the UFC. So I started training MMA. And once I started doing that, I started competing, I started fighting, and then one day I woke up and I couldn't walk. This was in my early 20s. And when I couldn't walk, I was like, oh no, like my whole life I dedicated to this moment. And well, not this moment, but this career. I was training 2 or 3 times a day, 5 or 6 days a week. So it was not only a passion, but it was my job, my full-time job. And so when I couldn't walk, I was very scared. I found I had a herniated disc in my L6. My left leg was out of place. I had a lot of sciatic nerve damage. And that was basically the end of the beginning of my career early on. So with that being said, I went from there to physical rehab for my injury. And after that, I just found myself not being able to still stay away from the sport. So I would still show up to these gyms that I was training at before in crutches for a while. So that was hard in itself, just, being there but not being able to participate like I used to. And it was hard. I guess that's the best way to say it. I was depressed. I went through depression. I went through anxiety. Like you name it, that's what happened, pretty much. So all of a sudden, I remember as I was sitting on the sidelines with the coaches that I was being approached by people asking me for advice, for tips on how I can help them, what things I used to do, things that they can do, things like that. And instead of being bitter and everything about it, I was like, wow, like this is kind of flattering. I realized like they never got a chance to ask me these things because before I, I didn't really have a chance to talk to other people. I was always focused. I was always, you know, just train, train, train. And I just realized like here it is. Like I can offer these people help now because I can't train. So let me see what else I can do. Long story short, that was kind of a long story. I fell in love with coaching. I realized how well these people were doing. I realized I was part of that. And I found that to be even more fulfilling than actually being in the ring or being in the cage and competing. And so with that, I obviously took that and ran with it. I went and got my degrees and certifications and all these different areas from physical therapy to to nutritional science to even mental health for these fighters, mental health with these fighters and with other athletes too. That way I can really help them, not just, in little ways, but in huge ways. So that was kind of one of my adversities and how I overcame and grew through it, not just let it get the best of me and became bitter and like, oh, I don't like that kind of stuff anymore. I used to do it. I don't like it anymore because I got injured, yada, yada, yada. No, like I embraced what happened and that it happened. Like I said in the intro video, I embraced what happened for me, not what happened to me. It's all about perspective, right? Like we can look at things and life happens to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. And they're like, no, did it really happen to you or did it happen for you? So that's one thing we ask ourselves. And again, everybody welcome to grow through it. Before I have our first guest, Kim Possibly, Pop in the Box, please hit that star at the top. It's a favorite. It is free. And again, everyone, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the love. And grow through it is where we talk about adversities and how we've grown through them. And it's every Monday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 11 Central. So, I don't know where everybody is, obviously, but wherever you are, you guys can find out here. Um, I'm going to go ahead and have Miss Kim Possibly come on in the box. And please just respect everybody, respect obviously the guests, respect each other in the comments, and show love to each other. That's what this show's for.
Hey,
Uh-oh. We had her, you might have to try the box again. Not sure what happened. Weekly therapy. Well, I'm glad we can get that weekly therapy, Kitty. Here she is. Okay. Let's try that one more time.
the box is working against us.
Okay, now it's working.
Alright.
Everybody can see her, I hope, and hear her. And just before I get you started, this is one of my favorite days of the week, Mondays. I don't know about you guys. I know a lot of people are like TGIF, all this stuff. I'm like TGIM. Like, thank God it's Monday because it's a fresh new start at the week. It's a fresh new day. It's, it's just a great way to start the week. And I get to hang out with you guys. So it just makes everything that much more fun. So Kim, how has your day been so far?
It's been great. Thank you for asking. How about yours?
Work was a little rough. Not gonna lie,
Oh,
work was a little bit rough, but I'm here. I'm here with you guys, and I appreciate everybody coming in here. I have to ask, why the Kim Possibly?
okay, so originally I used to go by Kim Possible, and
Right, I
then,
put that in the thing, so it's
yeah,
my bad.
no, you're fine. Because, like, everybody's, like, still getting used to it. So I changed, because, like, I was just, like, thinking, like, if I want to brand myself, Kim Possible is, like, the Disney show or something, so it's copyrighted, so I was just, like, so a streamer on here suggested changing one letter instead of changing my entire name, and I said that could work, and that's how I came to Kim Possibly, because it wasn't gonna throw everyone completely off. So
Right. So I noticed there's also a comma in after Kim.
yeah, uh,
Is that on accident or is that like,
it's like
because usually they put that when that's the last name.
yeah, I don't know. I
That's
just
okay. I just thought I asked. I always like to ask people's names, like where they come from. It gives a little story to it. It
yeah
makes sense for the name. Everybody, what's up, everybody who's come in here? I appreciate you guys all. I see you guys all. Um, Thank you for all the love and the gifts. Please hit Miss Kim Possibly with a favorite. So, and I apologize for this. Work has been crazy. I didn't get a chance to chat with either of the guests. I usually do a little pre-call. So, what is one of the main adversities that you chose to share with us tonight that you've grown through that makes you Kim Possibly today?
yeah. So when I when I was in my like early 20s, I got diagnosed with celiac disease, and so and but what's funny about that is before I got diagnosed, I apparently had it my whole entire life. Um, and I always ended up in like the nurse's office in like elementary school, middle school, high school, and they would be like, "Oh, you're fine. You're just faking being sick," and like they would like brush it
Mm,
off. I even got detention a
right.
few times. Like so, um, when I was like in my 20s and I got diagnosed and I was told I had it my whole entire life. They just couldn't discover it till then. It was just like they were just I was just like kind of like in the moment of just like I wish I could go back and tell all my teachers and nurses like you guys shouldn't have done that to me.
Right. You guys were wrong all along. Yeah, and I'm sure that's obviously like, well, not now, but I'm sure it was a time like frustrating, right? Because they think you're faking it,
Yeah.
and you're not. It's like the boy who cried wolf, but you're the girl who's crying for real. Like it wasn't just, some false thing. So when that happened, what were your outlooks on everything? Like obviously there was a lot of frustration, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was like so I literally it was just like midlife, so like I it was just like cuz I literally just couldn't stop. It was hard cuz you get used to eating all these foods and now you have to just get rid of out of your life right then and
Yeah.
there, and that was a really really hard challenge for me to do.
What
And
were some things that you, if you don't mind me asking, what were some things that you experienced when you did have, excuse me. I
bless you.
apologize to
Bless you.
everybody. Thank you. What were some experience like other than obviously like there? I know there's the throbbing. Um, thank you, everybody. The throbbing pain that kind of just covers the entire core area of your body for like days sometimes, right?
Yeah,
Were there any
I
were there
would
any
I
other
would get like stomach pains and like bathroom issues, like just a lot of
just uncomfort in
yeah,
general?
yeah.
So what grade did you say you were in? Or you said you were in
When
early
I got
20s.
diagnosed, I was like in my early 20s. Like yeah.
So what happened then when you were diagnosed? What were the next steps?
So, they just like told me like I was diagnosed and that I had to change to a gluten-free diet and stop eating gluten and stuff. And it was like it's like it wasn't an easy overnight thing, and I did
Right.
um kept kind of having what I called cheat days where I would slip some
Mm,
gluten
yeah.
into me just and over time that actually severely damaged my intestines. And when the doctor told me I severely damaged my intestines, that's when I was just like, okay, I really gotta stop now. I can't.
Right. Well, because I mean, like I mentioned earlier, obviously really quickly, that I hadn't gotten my degree in nutritional science. So I know that yeast itself, which is gluten, it takes about, I think, 3 weeks to completely rid out of your system. So when you were having those cheat days, were they like before those 3 weeks, or did you do a cleanse, or how did that go about?
When I was like doing the cheat days, like I would just like eat like a little bit of like whatever snack or things I'd like that were had gluten in them, and just do like a small sitting and like maybe once a week or something. Nothing too like heavy, and just like I felt like slight symptoms, but I mean, I obviously knew what was gonna happen.
Right. So when you decide that like you can't do that anymore because you damaged your intestines, what were the steps then?
Yeah, so when
What did you have to do? Kind of some kind of like flush or like cleanse for your system?
so basically when I severely damaged my intestines, I was just getting severely bad stomach pains because obviously it's because the intestines are in your stomach and they're damaged. And so basically I was just like whenever I tried to get up and do things, I would just be in a lot of pain, and I literally just decided that I just need to stay in bed for a few months and take my time to ease back into things. So I had to take some time off.
Right. So, did it affect like where your work life, your relationship life, or anything like things like that?
Um,
At least for a while until you were able to find that.
Definitely. Like when I was in I was in college at the time, and it definitely affected my college because it was past the withdrawal period or the drop period. So basically, I got all F's in all my classes because of it.
Right, because you weren't really able to
Drop.
do anything.
Yeah.
You were just in pain. So when you were, and I don't want to get too deep, but like when you were in pain, like were you just basically like bedridden for like
Yeah.
days on end?
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's so crazy. That's rough. I mean, I've met a few people in my life, very few people that had celiac. One of them was a client, and which is fine because honestly, I don't really give bread as an option for my clients when they're like trying to get healthier or lose weight or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just that's rough. So, when did you get to that point that, I mean, you're obviously not in pain right now, I'm guessing, right?
No.
Right. So, when did you get to that point where you're like, I got this in check, like I know what I'm doing? Like, when did that all happen and how did it happen?
Yeah, so I started seeing so local supermarkets by me used to have like a free nutritionist. So I would go in and just sit with them and try and figure out a meal plan and how to get myself in order to be able to not go towards eating gluten and
Right.
to try and find things because when you're not familiar with the gluten-free diet, it's and also at the time like gluten-free was still pretty new to everybody. So
Yeah.
there still wasn't a lot of stuff as versus what it is today.
Right. So when did you like how many months or years even like did it take you to finally like obviously where you're at now, you grew through all that, decide like I'm not gonna let this get the best of me. I'm still gonna, do me. I'm still gonna be Kim possibly, but without the gluten so that I don't suffer anymore. That was that like a long pattern, a long,
It was
road, or was it pretty more on the short end?
yeah, it was I mean it was pretty much just me just having to tell myself that I need to if I want to live, I have to start taking better care of myself and doing things properly. So,
Right. So it was basically like life or death situation. Not life or death, but kind of.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's crazy. Just the fact that, food. Did you now this is kind of actually a curious question. Did you ever kind of dig to the root and like get to the root of, why? That's something that I've always been interested as a nutritionist, like the research behind and the roots of why our bodies are affected so immensely by foods. Obviously, like we hold gut, illness and sickness and disease in our guts, right? And that our gut is also in our organs and intestine. All this stuff is related emotionally. Is that ever something that um, you know, tried discovering on your own,
No,
like kind of researching?
but I
Well, we might have to do that together
yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah. Cause like also when I got like a few years after I got diagnosed with disease, I also went lactose intolerant.
Oh, wow. So it's just kind of one thing after another.
Yeah, it was
It definitely sounds like something, was something imbalance in your body.
yeah.
So I want to rewind a little bit and see were there any kinds of different methods that you practice?
Um, I mean, as far as like the diet, like I was like the nutritionist like was always just like have a colorful palette and eating like have like a fruit, a veggie, and protein, and so like and then so like I've been like trying to consistently do that, and sometimes I still even slack at that today because I'm a small person, so I can't eat a big meal, so I have to try and keep reminding myself to do like small serving sizes. Like,
Right. So like right now it's basically at the point where you are just eating smaller portions, but you've completely limited gluten
yeah,
and dairy, right?
yeah.
And how long has that been since you've last had either of those?
Um, I wanna say since I was like 23.
You don't have to share your age, but so it's been quite a while, at least a few years.
It's been like 9, 10 years.
Okay. So do you ever find it hard at this? Obviously, it's been a long time now.
Yeah,
And a little fun fact for everyone. By the way, everyone, welcome to Grow Through It. I'm your host, CureAge or Cure. This is where we talk about different adversities and how we've not went through them, but how we've grown through them and grown. Sometimes we're still growing through them. This is Kim. Possibly hit her with a favorite if you haven't already. She's talking a little bit about one of her adversities she had in her life. Um, and our show, this show is every Monday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, depending on where you're at. We can figure that out. But going back to after, so you said it's been 9, 10, almost 10 years. We'll just round up to 10 years.
yeah.
Do you ever find it like being out with friends or just family or anything like that where it's just like you crave it? Do you ever crave those things?
Oh yeah.
Or does it?
I mean, like it's like even though like there's like restaurants and places that still don't really cater to the gluten free, and it's like if you go out with people and you go to a place and they want to eat someplace and then but you're the only one who can't eat there, it's definitely like a frustrating situation to
Yeah.
have to like be that person causing everybody to like.
Well, and do you ever feel like people get like friends or just, I don't know, maybe dates or something like that? Has anyone ever gotten like frustrated with you because they just, obviously it's not your fault, but like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just frustrating for people because they want to, enjoy a meal with you and there's limitations on that. Has that ever been an issue?
Oh yeah, I mean like I had an ex tell me that they broke up with me because of my food restrictions, and I told I was just like it was weird because like I was just like I mean if like I didn't know that was gonna be such an issue because like
Well, that he did you a
yeah.
favor. Let's just put it that way. Because like it's like I mentioned in my show last week, to DJ your boy. He talked a lot about his ADHD, and so I brought up my Tourette's because I don't really talk. I mean, I talk about it in my regular stream. I don't ever really talk about it in my show, but it's something that I have, and I get it. I've been dumped for it too, because I have ticks, and sometimes they get really bad. Sometimes I can't go some certain places. Sometimes I have to leave certain places early. So I get that. It's crappy. It really is. It's not okay. But at the same time, they don't know what it's like. So it is what it is. They did us a favor in the end. Um, One thing though that it crossed my mind, I'm starting to forget it. Um, it wasn't about exes. It was about um, I don't know. I'll come back to it, I'm sure. But what would you say was the biggest takeaway of all this? Like your big aha of like I own this. Like I am Kim possibly, and I own the fact that I have celiac. Like, or are you at that point yet? Maybe
Yeah,
you're not at that
I
point.
mean, I definitely, it's just knowing that I haven't, I guess my aha moment is just like saying, is me realizing and just staying away from gluten and not knowing,
Just knowing what's good for you.
yeah, and knowing that it can damage me like it did.
So have you had any slip ups in the last 9, 10 years?
No,
Be honest.
no,
Not one?
no.
Good for you. That's great. That's not easy.
It really isn't.
Because I'm sure we could all agree in here we love a good pizza, and that has both like gluten and dairy.
I mean, there's a gluten and dairy-free pizza that's sold in the supermarket. It tastes like
Yeah,
cardboard
of
though.
course. And you can
It
you
it
can make
tastes
it.
like cardboard though. I miss I miss the pizzas that I used to have before I turned gluten. Like
Well, if you ever want, I can shoot you some stuff on Instagram, ways of making gluten-free pizzas. I've done it with certain clients that can't have gluten or just are lactose intolerant or vegans. Um,
yeah,
but cauliflower, I don't know if you tried that. That's a really good one.
no.
You make a cauliflower crust. So there, Kitty said it. It's all about the cauliflower. Um, so lastly, I'm gonna have you come back in the box after we talk with Ali.
Okay.
But lastly, what is let's see what I'm trying to think how to word this. What is the biggest challenge you still face? Obviously, other than the cravings that you still get. um, what's the biggest challenge you still are facing and growing through with everything that you've already grown through? Like, what's something that still kind of lingers that you're like, that's something I still need to continue working on.
Um, I have a lot of physical health issues that go on that I have in my life in general.
So,
That
so other than the celiac
yeah,
and the lactose,
yeah,
so that's something that you're continuing to grow through.
yeah.
Keyword grow through, guys, not go through. Remember that for yourself as well. Well, Ken, I appreciate you sharing your story. I'm sure a lot of same people seem to relate to it. Um, I'll have you come back in the box in just a little bit when we close out the show.
Okay,
But if anyone hasn't already, please favorite Miss Kim possibly. She's awesome. You do stream, correct?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. So please favorite her, and you'll be able to catch her on one of her streams pretty soon, I'm sure. I'm gonna have you hop out of the box for
Okay.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
All right.
Kim, again, thank you for that. Yeah, that's wild. I know my younger sister, well, I have one sister, so my sister, um, they thought she had celiac for the longest time because she was having similar issues to someone who would. Um, Turned out it was a misdiagnosis. She was gluten free for about 6 years, and I believe she did like another allergy test or something like that, and gluten or wheat did not show up on there. And I think to this day she has it and nothing happened. So it's very, or maybe she grew out of it. Um, Sorry, I had to take a sip of my tea. So I just want to say real quick before I reintroduce the show that I actually haven't had fast food. Okay, like that's not completely accurate, but basically, so like you name it, Burger King, KFC, even sodas, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, all that stuff. I want to see who can guess how long it's been since I last had any of those foods. If you already know, then you know. But I want to see all the guesses in here, how many years or months or whatever. But be serious. I want to really see. Um, but applaud Kim because that's not easy. I don't know what I would do if I had that. I mean, I guess I know what I would do, but I just, it's not easy. That's for sure. So I'm seeing a lot of months. I'm seeing a couple years here. We got 7 years, 4 years. I think I told Miss Miles and I think I told Gigi, and they came out to Vegas to visit. With wow, I'm so used to his real name and I forget his guap. Okay. Um, I was like, dude, I'm used to his regular name. I forgot his stream name. So yeah, we all hung out for a night. So yeah, but anyways, this is Grow Through It. Welcome to Grow Through It. This is our show every Monday night at 9 p.m. Pacific. If you're on the East Coast, it's midnight there right now, 12:30. So if you guys are ever interested in being on the show, hit me up on Snapchat or Instagram. Don't hit me up on TikTok because I probably won't see it. Um, I'll tell you the answer in just a second. Here we talk about different adversities and not just why we went, oh yeah, well, I went through this, I went through that. No, how we grew through them, how we became better people through them, why we chose to become better people. Um, and any questions you guys have that's related to the show that I can't really answer right now, I know there are some. I'm just, I gotta be attentive to the show. It is a featured show. So I appreciate everybody being in here, being respectful and showing love to each other and to me and to the guests. Before I have Miss Allie come in, I'm going to do the quotes. But before I get to the quotes, I will tell you it has been 18 years. And I swear, I don't lie. 18 years since I've had Burger King or KFC or Taco Bell or Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Sprite or yeah, any of those things. I have had, I will say this, In-N-Out doesn't count to me. In-N-Out, you guys can argue with me, In-N-Out raises their own cattle, so I don't count that. But um, I have had McDonald's breakfast, their little hash brown and a little egg without the sausage thing, only because on road trips, like when I go back to my hometown in California, it's like 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and that's the only thing that's open. So yes, I have had those, but like very rare. It's like once in a blue moon. So everybody, thank you again for being here. Before I have Miss Ali, Ali, you're gonna have to help me pronounce your name when you come on the box. I'm gonna do my quick quotes of the week. So let's see. I have one from October 28th, so I'll probably do that one first. The other one's from November 3rd. So, all right, first quote is because I don't know if it's Monet or Monat or yeah, not really sure. So, first quote says, "The same old stuff will occasionally get in the way for you. It'll rise up and slap you around the head. That's when I'm sorry, that's when who you could be becomes more important than who you were." So, I'll repeat it again for the people in the back. The same old stuff will occasionally get in the way for you. It'll rise up and slap you around the head. That's when who you could be becomes more important than who you were. I love that quote because we all get our past brought up to whether it's mental, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, seeing, I don't know, seeing an ex or uh, hearing something that maybe, our parents would say to us or just certain things that, are triggers, right? Kind of like triggers. They're always going to come there. They're always going to be around, because our past doesn't not exist because it's the past. It still existed. But that's when, like it says, we're going to grow through it. It's kind of like a deep way of saying we're going to grow through it. And it says that's when who you could be or trying to be is more important than who you used to be or who you were. Um, Everyone that's in here, I appreciate all of you being here. I appreciate all the love. Thank you for being here. I'm going to read one more quote and then we're going to have Miss Allie, our second guest of the night, hop into the box. So, this is a good one too. And this one, I want everyone in the back, in the front, in the middle to come up and I want you guys to listen to this because it's very deep. You'd get over your past if you gave up your addiction to trying to get over your past. Think about that one. I'll read it again. Uno más. You would get over your past if you gave up your addiction to trying to get over it. I didn't write these. I just choose them, but I think that one is immensely accurate. And it's kind of a slap to the face for all of us because I know that I'm guilty of it. Like sometimes we're so focused on, you know, oh, I gotta get over it. I gotta, instead of I am. We forget the I am, right? So I don't know. Those both pretty hit home really good, and they are perfect for the show, especially this episode, right? I'm sure Miss Kim possibly could easily say, I could sit around and think about that guy that dumped me because I have celiacs, but instead, this is who I am. He didn't know Kim possibly, right? He knew the other Kim that we didn't know. So she moved on from that. She grew through that, and she decided that I'm not going to be addicted to trying to get over it. I'm going to actually get over it. Or, you know, instead of letting her past rise up and slap her around the head, metaphorically, she said that this is who I'm going to become. And it's more important than who I used to be. So, yeah, exactly, Kitty. The more you know, the more we resist, the more it persists. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that saying. It's a very old quote. What we resist starts to persist. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce our next guest of the night, Miss Allie. Cannot pronounce her second name yet, but she was going to teach me right now.
Hello. So,
Saw you on when I
oh,
started
no.
showing. Like, I hope she didn't forget.
So it's Ali Minot.
But no.
Yeah, like the T is kind of French sounding. It's not French.
Okay.
It's actually an anagram, but
I like
oh,
that.
thank you for the
Mano.
hearts, Kate.
So is that your actual name or is that something you came up with?
No, no, my name is different,
Okay.
but this is it's to like the name that I use for my music. So it's an anagram
Oh, okay.
of
There you
something
go.
that I heavily relate to. Thank you guys.
So this and it has a meaning behind it?
Yeah, so if you were to combine the letters of like Ali Minot into one word, rearrange the letters, it would spell the word emotional.
Wow.
Because I am an
That
emotional being,
is
and most of the music that I've done has been about like emotional development and working through things.
that is really, really freaking cool.
Yeah.
Like that is really cool. Don't get me wrong, Kim Possible was a bad chick. Like she knew what was up. She could handle her
Thank you.
business. So Kim Possibly, love that name too. Just I would have never guessed that emotional is that. Like it literally, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, it is. I was trying to check
Yeah.
if you were wrong. Like
I actually
legit, I was
I
trying to check if
drew
you were wrong.
it's kind of rough, but like links all the lines together kind of thing.
Wow, that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
So you're
I'm
an
trying to come
emotional
up with like
being, just
designs and
like
stuff
every other
right now.
human being. I think guys
Yeah,
tend to forget that we're emotional too, or can be. I know that statistically, women are more emotional beings, where men are more logical beings. I think that's just a mental thing, but we're all a bit of both, right?
absolutely. And I feel like there was more of a negative stigma around men showing their emotions.
Oh yeah, and there still is. Like I mean, that's why I love when I can actually get men to be on my show because a lot of them feel like they don't want to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
and a lot of them don't care. They're like, I don't give a, whatever. I'll be
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
So
That's good. It's healthy.
diving into this, same thing with Kim. Usually I would do a, because I've been working so much, I apologize. I wasn't able to do a pre-call with you because that's usually how I would do my shows is I would get you on a call beforehand and we would discuss the topic, how it went,
Yeah.
why. We'll just do that in the box right now. How's that
Sounds
sound?
good.
Cool. So the one adversity that you chose to pick today, tonight, with all of us, tell us a little bit about that.
So the main thing that I've struggled with and still continue to struggle with is anxiety and depression. It's it's been a process, but
I think we
it's
can all
been
relate to
like a
that one.
humbling process.
Right. I think we can definitely all, I know I can relate to that, especially because it it's a derivative of my Tourette's. You know, if I don't have anxiety, my Tourette's is not bad.
Hmm.
Um, so, and obviously, you know, I think ever since COVID too, a lot of people, you know, the whole um, quarantining and all that stuff like made us try to, you know, be alone with ourselves. And a lot of people didn't know how to do that. And so it started to drive anxiety levels really high, depression rates high because we weren't able to socially interact with each other. And this
Yes.
is not a metaphor for anything of you dirty thinkers. I'm just trying to say, like, we weren't able to see each other in person. That's all. Um, but yeah, no. So when did that start? Like at an early age, or
Well, I was diagnosed with moderate depression when I was 12 years old and put on antidepressants. So
that sounds like
before my
me.
mind was even near to being fully developed,
Right.
they were like medication. And so I was on antidepressants for 7 years. And I was worse off when I was on the antidepressants. On it, like some people, it helps, but for me, I was just it was not a good time.
Yeah.
So
For me, so I actually, I know this show's mainly about the guests, but it's about everyone.
yes.
I it was 19, and I actually, so this is something I don't tell too many people. At 19, there was a point in my that year of being 19 where months I was crawling around my parents' house. Was it like a year after I graduated high school? And we lived in a very big house, so that made it a lot harder. But by the end of the day, I would be scooting myself to get around the house because I would be ticking so much that I would get lightheaded because I would when I tick, I'd hold my breath. So being tired, trying to stand up, I would start to faint, or not faint literally, but I would feel like I'm going to faint. So I would stay low to the ground.
Yeah.
And so to get from one room to another, it was basically like scooting my butt along the floor.
Hmm.
I can laugh about it now because, you know, that was like a long time ago. But
Yeah.
that's how I spent like half of my 19-year-old year or time. So it was, you know, it's interesting because I tell people, and I'm sure you can relate to this, this is perfect for what you're talking about, is people take, not everyone, but a lot of people take for granted the simple things in life.
Yes.
And the simple things in life, just for an example, is getting up, getting in your car, going to the grocery store. Push one in the comments if you guys can get up, get in the car, go to the grocery store without having to deal with some kind of traumatic stress. I'm hoping there's a lot of ones. If there's not,
I hope so
well, I
too.
can
I
relate
just took a deep breath and sighed and was like,
because I mean that's just an example. That's something that I have to mentally prep myself. Do you ever have to do that too?
always. It's like a process. I'll plan to go to the grocery store at some point throughout the day, and it won't be until like close to the store is closed because it's taken me that long to get into the right space in my head and just like physically motivated too. It's
Right.
still something I struggle with, but not
So
as
physically
bad as when I
motivating,
was
I feel like
younger.
is a right, exactly. And you because you've grown through it, even though you're still growing
Yeah.
through it, but you've
Yeah.
grown through it thus far.
I may
For
have
me,
this
I
far to
feel
go, but I've already come this much, so
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, we're always growing, right? So there's really no
No end.
range of how much we have to grow because there's always going to be something we're going to grow through,
Yeah.
right? And it may not be always anxiety and depression, maybe something else, maybe something business wise. And that's why I love doing the show because there's no such thing as I stopped growing. There's no such thing as my growth is done. Like I
Hmm.
get the whole light at the end of the tunnel metaphor, but we don't have to be in a tunnel. That's one thing I say to my clients. We also don't have to be in a tunnel in the dark,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There can be candles, there can be lighters, matches. There doesn't have to be. But I get what you get what I'm saying. But there's still that like light at the end. So like I finally okay, I'm out of that situation.
Yeah.
Like that's a different thing. When it comes to growth, like it doesn't have to be a tunnel thing, right? It could just be this is what it is. Like here I am. I'm in an open field. There's no tunnel, but I'm still getting across this open field. And as I'm getting across this open field, there are ponds, there are little creeks, there are little animals that I can stop and pet along the way. Because there's
Yeah.
always win situations, right?
Hmm.
So I want to know about some of your win situations during your growth process. I know that's a little
It's
bit of
been
a different question, but what are some of like the
it's
good parts that you came across during it?
well, just like pushing through certain types of anxiety. Because with music, I've had to like perform on stages and like go to bars and pubs that I don't go to. Like I don't go out and party. I'm not a drinker. So it's like really out of my comfort zone when I do that, but I still kind of like push through and do it. And it's a really rewarding feeling afterwards. It's like small victories.
Right.
Even though it was a small event, it's still, I went and I stayed for the whole thing rather than just like went and stayed until a bit after I performed and left.
Yeah. And so do you now for me when I mentioned how I train martial arts pretty much like walk for like so no, I'm just kidding. When I was in the ring or in the cage or even just sparring or whatever, whenever I was in the middle of something regarding training, or even now with whatever it is, I find myself very when I'm focused, I'm calm. Do
Mm,
you ever find yourself like that? Like when you're straight up singing, anxiety doesn't exist, depression doesn't exist.
yeah.
It's all just it's just
Yep.
you and that microphone.
That was one thing when I was younger, when I was on the antidepressants, is like I was taking voice lessons and doing performing arts festivals and that kind of thing. And I one comment that I had made when I was younger was that I feel at home, like more at home than anywhere else when I'm like in my element singing. Just forget about everything, close my eyes, and just it's me and the music.
Absolutely. And it's funny because it had been a good well, it had been like a good year, I want to say, since I've been in my element, but a good few years since I've been in the atmosphere of my element, which is training.
Yeah.
And just this Saturday, I went back to one of my old coaches' gyms where I used to teach over there too, and just got jumped in like a random session, got in some sparring. I was very rusty. So, I came home with my ribs being a little sore and stuff like that, but that's just because my elbows, pushing on it while I'm, getting hit or
Yeah.
whatever. But I remember just feeling like, wow, I'm so calm. I'm getting hit, but I'm so calm. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so when did you discover that singing was your outlet, so to speak? Was it at a young
A bit
age
when I
or
was younger,
and how did you
but
discover that?
a lot of it was actually through performing at church because I went to church from like weekly churchgoer from the age of or 4 until I was like 18, 19 years old. And so
Mhm.
I was on the music team at the church that my family went to for 5 years. And that was when I really realized how big of an impact it could have. And then I fell out
Right.
of the church and kind of got out of music, was in a relationship with someone that I wasn't allowed to do music stuff around because it gave them a headache. And so I went 3 years without doing any music.
Sounds like you and Kim had my data same guy. I'm just kidding.
Kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always going to be someone that doesn't like us for something that we're passionate about. And
Yeah, you're always going to be
honestly, in
either
the end, I feel
too
like it's
much or not enough to somebody, right?
exactly. Yeah, it's just a matter of finding that happy medium and that balance. But
So,
it's
and you discovered it through church originally.
through church originally, and then after a toxic relationship, I kind of went full force into it.
And then you said you stopped for like a few years during that relationship.
Yeah. So it was 3.5 years that me and that person were together, and
How was
I
your
started
anxiety
off
and depression during that relationship?
the first year it wasn't bad, but it gradually just depleted over the succeeding 2.5 years.
And can I ask, did he notice at all or take notice to
Not
like
really.
honey or babe, whatever? Like I'm noticing like all this is, it's getting really bad. Like, is there something I could do, or did you just like don't sing, it annoys me?
That was basically the attitude that he had was like his crap smelled better than mine kind of thing. For
Okay.
lack of a better saying, just like
I haven't heard that one,
his
but I get you.
stresses were his like stresses and anxieties were a bigger deal than mine were.
Right.
But
So
yeah.
how were you able to, obviously you escaped out of that. Was there just,
Yeah.
you just decided to get out of that because you knew it wasn't right?
Um there was one specific argument where it was just like things had been leading up to that point because it was just he was gradually getting less and less grateful and just it was just a not good situation. And our final argument I was going over a budget, just like a potential budget if both of us were working full time because he barely worked throughout the relationship and I was having to pay for everything. And he was critiquing different things, saying that we couldn't afford to put $150 into a savings account, and that $50 to put towards a haircut per month was unreasonable. And he said that I just needed to learn to go without certain things, and that I was a spoiled brat. And I was just like, okay,
Even though you were
thanks
the
for
one
that.
working and bringing food to the table.
Yeah. And it was just like, okay, at that moment, I realized he does not respect me and he does not respect how I feel about how he treats me.
And we
And
got to remember too, people like that don't even have respect for themselves.
yeah, which,
I'm gonna
and
go
that
out on
was
a whim.
honestly, he did struggle and it broke my heart because I tried to help and it was just, he wasn't at the point where he wanted to receive any help either.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. So that and then obviously I'm not. It's not a lecture. I'm not trying to preach this. This is just something that I firmly believe is that there's a difference between helping each other in a relationship and then being Captain Save us something.
Hmm.
Like none of us really need saving. Well, maybe they do, but we're not here to do that. You know what I mean? Like we're not their therapists. They should be finding therapy for those things, not a relationship to therapize them.
Yeah,
That's not what a relationship should be. Then there's growing together, like being on my, no, I'm just kidding, my show. No, there's growing together where there's, you're struggling, but you both understand and you both are there for each other and supportive and knowing that, like for an example, I mean, he could have did this, he could have did that, but just quick
hmm.
example because we are closing in on time. Miss Kim, you can go ahead and request that box whenever you're ready. So an example of that would be, him being like, allowing you to continue practicing. And maybe if it really bothered him that much, then, he could go into the other room
Yeah.
or whatever, or you practicing whatever. But I'm going to go on a whim really quick and say that this relationship was kind of recent.
It was ended in December of 2019.
So that's pretty recent.
Yeah.
It's 3 years
There's
ago.
still healing that I need to do.
Almost. Yeah. Okay, that I just wanted to see because the way you were explaining it was very elaborate and very detailed, and I felt and I could kind of feel like the
The
emotion was
anxiety
still
around
there.
it.
Yes. So I want to say
Yeah.
the anxiety, but you said it. So yes, there is
I
anxiety.
mean,
Just
that's what we're talking about, right? Anxiety
well,
still affects
just
me, but
talking
it's
about it. Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's still affecting you a bit, right?
yeah,
Well, at least you can admit it.
it's part of the process.
It is part of the process. You're admitting it. You know it's there. You recognize it. It's real, and but you're not letting it stop you, and that's the whole part of growing through it. You've grown through enough to not let it stop you be who you are and continue singing, right? I hope.
Yeah,
And if I'm not
absolutely.
mistaken, mistaken, long day, sorry. Kim, you were also a performer, right? Or you were,
Yes. Yeah, I sing.
and
I sing as
you
well.
were in an audition, certain audition or something like that, right? Because you were in a different
Yeah.
show, I remember.
Yeah, I auditioned for American Idol. I was on
That's
American Idol,
awesome. How long ago was
like
that?
in 2009. Yeah.
That must have been nerve-wracking.
Uh, yeah, it was. I didn't make it past the first round. I mean, like the preliminary rounds with the producers, but it was a great experience. There was so many talented people. It was just like, how am I gonna like? It was the talent is surreal at those things.
Yeah.
Right. Were they pretty harsh to you?
No, they weren't harsh. I kind of knew that I did bad myself. Like I'm my own worst critique.
Of course, we all are. No, I mean, but and like a lot of people say that like we shouldn't be. I think there's like a little balance, and I think we can be because how else are we supposed to grow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
We can't rely on everybody else's
Yeah.
opinions and everyone else's because sometimes those people are going to be biased, right? They're going to think we're doing a great job even if we're not because they still see us doing a good job in their eyes. Um,
yeah,
but that's really cool that you get to experience something like that because that's something you can carry along
Yeah.
with you, and maybe pass it on to Allie.
Yeah.
Maybe Allie
I
will one
chickened.
day
I
want to do that.
almost submitted an application to Canada's Got Talent last year, but I chickened out.
All right, because yeah, I forgot you're in Canada. That's right.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for being here. This is Grow Through It. This is I don't know what episode. I'll just say episode 2 of season 2 because we started kind of fresh. Um, Here we talk about adversities. These two lovely women just talked about one of their adversities, a couple of their adversities that they faced years ago and are still facing to this day, right? But they're not just facing it, they're growing through it. They're learning about it, learning how to grow through it, how to get better from it. So I applaud both of you for being here, and I thank both of you for being here and being guests. And before we still have a few minutes. Before we get to the end of the show, um, Ali, what is one of the biggest? Okay, two questions. So I asked Kim one of them. What is the biggest thing that you still struggle with to this day, even though you've grown through a lot? And what is the biggest takeaway you've had, both of you? What is the biggest takeaway you've had from all of it?
Well, for me, the biggest thing struggling with would be the anxiety because it's
Where do you feel
still
like that
like
comes from?
um I think just like an amalgamation of many different things, like previous life experiences and like undiagnosed issues or recently diagnosed issues. Like I didn't find out until last year that I have ADHD, which makes a lot of sense. But
Who doesn't nowadays,
I
right?
know, right?
Like, I mean, we all seem to have one of those things at this point.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just kind of growing through it and not letting it stop me from doing what I want to do. Even if it takes me a little bit longer than it does some other people, so be it. If I do it eventually, at least I can say that I
Right.
did it.
There's no planned time track. You know, that's we all are on our own, right? We're on our own time.
Yeah.
And you said that what was the biggest takeaway
The biggest takeaway would
from
just be like
experiencing all
being
that?
patient with
With
myself.
it, and that's something that you still are learning to do.
Yeah,
I think we're all
it's
learning
a
to do that,
it's a
honestly.
process.
Um, yeah, and what Kitty said, that's courage. So there's a quote, I don't remember who it's by, but courage is not the absence of fear, but simply embracing the fear and something like that. I don't remember the quote word
Mm,
verbatim, but it's not the absence of fear, it's the acceptance of fear and just going through it anyway, something along those lines.
yeah,
Um,
I think I've seen that before,
so
or
you
something
guys
very
have
similar.
experienced fear, obviously. I mean, Allie was afraid of a lot of things. I mean, anxiety and depression come in so many different forms. And Kim was afraid of literally like your health and your life. And you two were able to, you know, make those changes and grow through it.
Yeah.
So what's each of you ladies before we go, what's one thing you'd like to share or express or tell the audience about yourself, whether it's your music, whether it's your social media or your streams? What's something that you want to, or even just in a tip or something that worked for you that maybe might work for them?
You can go ahead, Kim.
Okay. Um, I guess for me it would be just don't let others judge you because you know yourself the best, and if people want to be there for you through your hardships, they will be, and if they don't, the door is there as well. And you just gotta learn who's truly there for you. And um as far as my streams go, I do a couple of shows. One is a positive mindset show based. It's tomorrow, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern time. It's just a show I really want to do because I feel like a lot of people can get away from and uh and be very negative about themselves. So it's a place where I want to like bring like positivity atmosphere and
Right.
like and
A
and
safe
I also
place.
do it and yeah, and I also do a show on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time called Pop Culture Hour, which I bring a few guests on and they talk about um a pop culture topic of their choice and I that they like, and I interview them on why they like it and stuff.
Very cool. I like that. And Miss Ali Mano.
Yes. Well, I stream pretty much every day, mostly in the evenings. I do lots of music because music is one of those things that's been like my healthiest coping mechanism throughout life, especially more recently because I started writing my own music at the beginning of 2020 and started getting into producing my own music at the end of 2020. So I that's one of my main things is just like find something that kind of increases the level of peace in your life and don't let it go and don't let other people force you to let it go. Don't change
Right.
for anybody but yourself and make sure you're doing it in a healthy way.
Exactly. Nothing in this world, and this is what I tell myself too and remind myself, is that nothing in this and other people, nothing in this world, material, non-material, whatever it is, just nothing in ever in this world is worth costing our peace of mind. That's the one thing that I feel is the most valuable and that no one should have access to. I know that's easier said than done, obviously, because it's there's a boundary, there's a different thing than allowing people into our lives. But when we allow people into our lives, we shouldn't even have to worry about it, our peace of mind being costly, right? Those people are coming into our lives for a reason. They're not coming to our lives just because. Like they're coming into our lives for a reason. And that reason is because they bring to our lives, right? They don't have to bring money or they don't have to bring, this and that, but they are bringing parts to our lives that make us feel better, want to live better. Um, but when we bring certain people to our lives that we're not sure, like Kitty said, a lesson or a season, like we don't want a season thing or a lesson. I mean, obviously that's happened or it's going to happen. Um, but what we want is genuine, like what Kim was saying earlier, this, genuine, knowing genuine people because we don't want to have to deal with the whole idea of losing that peace of mind because it's ultimately up to us, right? Having a peace of mind is our choice. So the fact that someone's going to come into our life and we're going to allow them to corrupt that in any way, shape, or form, like it's scary, I'm sure. And like, and Ali is, like she said, still healing, right, from that relationship, um, because it did cost your peace of mind.
Absolutely.
And not to put it
Came
on
up
you,
with
but
something we didn't know.
it's always on us, right?
Yeah.
Because we know, and even when we don't know, part of us still knows. So I think that's going to be my thing, is just remembering that there's nothing and no one and at all in this whole world that should ever be worth costing your peace of mind. If someone's in your life and your peace of mind is going down and it has to do with them, get rid of them or limit your time with them.
Yeah.
If something, a job, something like that is starting to cost your peace of mind, change it. Find something else, whatever it is. If those
Yeah.
sirens are bothering you and costing your peace of mind, well, get over it because it'll pass.
It's driving by. It's almost
um,
done.
but yeah, no. Everybody, if you guys haven't already favorited Miss Kim Possibly and Ali Mano, which is emotional, if you rearrange the letters, please do. And if you missed this episode, you can catch it on YouTube. Emoji J has his channel, so type in Emoji J and you will be able to find his YouTube channel. You can subscribe if you want to. We're not here to make you do anything, but you can watch all the videos, including this one, in case you missed out. And again, ladies, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for having me.
I enjoyed getting to know you guys that much better.
Of course.
So I'm
Same.
gonna go ahead and close out. Appreciate you both. And everybody, again, thank you for coming to Grow Through It every Monday night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, 11 Central. I think it's 2 p.m. right now in certain parts of Australia. I'm not really sure, but I'm sure you guys can figure out the time. So come back next week. We'll have another episode. If you'd like to be a guest on it, please hit me up because with my work, it's very hard to spend time trying to find people to be on the show. Moji J's been awesome helping me out with that. But hit me up on Instagram or Snapchat. Send me a message. Tell me you want to be on the show, and we'll talk about it and we'll get you on. So that is all I have to say tonight. Again, everybody, thank you for all the love, the support, the respect, everything for me and for the guests. And everyone, have a wonderful evening. I'll see you all very soon. Is Cinderella? It's in my bio. So yeah, if you guys don't know my Instagram.